Hey guys, Charl here from worshipguitarskills.com, and in today's lesson I want to show you how to use the power of arpeggios so that you can come up with better guitar parts and play more melodic and musical sounding leads. Now if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, you'll get notifications whenever we release new videos like this. And if you enjoy this lesson, share it with somebody and leave a comment so we can see what you guys are into and make more of that in future. So let's get right to it. All right, cool. So an arpeggio is a fancy word for a broken chord. All I played there was A, C sharp, and E. Just those three notes, which basically make up an A major triad. Right, now you might know A major triads like this. We use a lot of those in our playing, but an arpeggio is basically just how you map out the exact chord, right? The problem with guitar players that comes up often is their leads end up sounding like scales, right? And the reason for that is simply because they're using scales to try and come up with something that's musical. Now, there's nothing wrong with that unless you don't know how to use chord tones. So that is really the big deal over here. If you look at an A major scale, okay, great. There's a lot of notes involved there, but only 3 of those notes are part of an A major chord, right? And of course, you don't just want to play that. I'm going to show you a cool example in the way that you can use that in a more musical and melodic fashion. But what's going on over here is the fact that you are just playing the chord tones by themselves. So as you can see in the screen right now, this is an A major triad arpeggio, starting on the 6th string, ending there on the 1st string. All right, I can also do a B minor triad arpeggio, and then I can also do an F sharp minor arpeggio, and then an E major arpeggio. So all I'm doing is I'm literally just playing all the notes, starting at the lowest note, going up to the highest note. I'm going to make a slight change by starting on the root note every time. So you can see the shapes on the screen. And B minor, F sharp minor, and E major. Okay, now let's play those arpeggios with a track. I'm literally just going to use arpeggios, play them over the chords. The progression I'm playing there is A major, B minor, F sharp minor, E major, which is a 1, 2, 6, 5 in the key of A. Let's check it out. Alright, so that obviously doesn't sound very exciting from a musical perspective because I'm literally just playing the notes of the chord. But the important part of that exercise is the fact that you are getting to literally spell out the notes of each chord as you are playing it, right? And I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that you can do to just get this under your finger. So your ear is going to start hearing these just what all those chord tones sound like, and then I can descend it from B minor, ascend it up to F sharp minor, and descend it with E major, and then I'm back into A. It's pretty cool just in the way that you can spell out those chords. So let's look at some different ways in which you can come up with this more from a lead guitar perspective, right? I'm going to add other notes towards the end of this lesson so you can actually see what you can do there. But if I were just to focus on the high 4 strings, strings 1, 2, 3, and 4, then for A major I will have this. For B minor, for F sharp minor, and for E major. Most guitar players have never done anything like that where they literally just spell out the names of the notes of the chord, right? And why this is important is when you are playing lead or you're coming up with guitar parts, you need to focus on chord tones when you are resting on your notes, right? And you'll use the non-chord tones to give you some interesting sounding lines, which is what I'm going to show you. But let's take that approach that I've just done here. I'm going to play it again with the track and just hear how I'm starting to literally outline all of those notes. And then at the end of, let's just say a cycle going around twice, I'll start ending in some additional notes just to show you, now that I've mapped out the actual chord tones, how can I start making that sounding a little bit more interesting. Let's check it out. All right, so that's literally just a bit of an exercise for you to get comfortable at outlining those chords. Now, what's interesting about this, that is not the kind of stuff that you'll play in a live situation, but it forces you to play just the arpeggio, which gets you to program some of that information into your muscle memory. Because most guitar players, they might just start going. You know, this sounds like a bunch of scales because that's exactly what it is. There's the melodic contour is not there in order for it to actually sound like it's going along with the chords. But if you force yourself now, you have to play the arpeggio. It's stuff that your fingers won't normally do. Therefore, you're getting to learn something new. You're also getting to practice playing across all of the strings, which is really cool in terms of your string skipping, because now, for the most part, we'll have maximum 2 notes on a string. But then I go to the next string, next string, 2 notes. So that really helps you with your single string style playing. And you can start coming up with a bunch of different examples. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the track on again, and I'm going to play some notes, mostly to try and be a bit more melodic, but I'm going to use some of these arpeggio shapes in there just to highlight some additional chord tones. Check this out. All right, so that was something I just made up on the spot to kind of, in classical music, there's this word called I think he pronounced it etude, right? Or an etude, whatever you want to pronounce it. But that basically means it's an exercise, but it's a musical exercise. So you can see there, I took my arpeggio here, and then I went just on a high E, because that is part of the A major arpeggio. And then, but I'm adding in a note that's not in the arpeggio for some interesting sounds, and then it happens to be the same notes for F sharp minor, and then. Now, of course, in music, you wouldn't repeat the same thing over and over for each chord, but that is an idea I would not have come up with if I wasn't kind of thinking around the arpeggio stuff. So, let's use that example with the track. Yeah, so there you go. If you want to get better at knowing where to find the notes, the first step is learn arpeggios. In this case, I learned the arpeggios and I'm playing them purely on the top 4 strings. For A major, B minor, F sharp minor, and E major. And then start coming up with parts. It's a lot more musical sounding because I'm playing way more chord tones, probably more than I need. But now, once you get into that kind of approach, where you get comfortable with outlining the chord tones, then you can take something like a minor pentatonic scale, which most guitarists would be comfortable with because of the bluesy nature of it. And I'll use that now together with some arpeggios in the mix there as well. Alright, so a bunch of different things there, but it's all based around arpeggios. So in this regard, the A major arpeggio over here would be. So then I went, and then a B minor arpeggio will be. Or you can see the notes that I'm highlighting are coming from the arpeggio, and then for F sharp minor, I went, and then for E major, was basically There's literally 5 shapes for each chord, and they're covering the whole neck. That's why if I play an A, B minor, F sharp minor, you see, you can just spell out the chords because you know those arpeggio shapes. Word of caution, if you just use arpeggio shapes, it's not going to sound cool. It's going to be very predictable, but that's a great way that you can get to learn the guitar neck in a better way because you are using arpeggio shapes to dial in all of these chord tones. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that look into arpeggios. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them for us in the comments section below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share these videos with your friends if you enjoy them. And then I look forward to seeing you on our next video.